Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to Financial Inclusion Nigeria. Financial Inclusion Week celebration. Nice to have you here.
Well, I guess I could just, on behalf of the Center for Financial Inclusion at Axion, we'd like to thank you for putting on this event today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you all take full advantage of all the activities on the event platform. And please reach out to us if you have any questions or technical issues, and please enjoy the week.
Thank you very much, Israel. You're much appreciated. And thank you for your efforts, too. If you're ready to tell us where you're calling or where you're joining us from, I can run through the names as I have them on my screen. We have Jide Fowowe, we have Zaya Hiaderi, Leila, Eunice Tabares, I'm just trying to get our speaker right here. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you all for joining. We're waiting on our speakers as soon as they get in here. Thank you, Lola. I got your message, Abby, not yet. Thank you everyone for coming in. I'm waiting on the speakers. I guess they will be with us shortly. Greetings from Yola, Adamawa State. Mr. James Job, nice to have you here. Kathmandu from Nepal, glad to have you here. Yeah, the speakers will soon be here. We're waiting on them. Permit me, I'm gonna mute my speaker for my phone for a while. Onyeka, are you back here?
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
Are you ready? Since we don't have anyone, maybe we're gonna start with you. Lekio Nifade from Katpeme Shaki, Oyo State, you're welcome. Maybe
we can go with it. Yeah.
Maybe we'll just give another 2 minutes. If we don't have any other one, I think we'll let you start this event today. And thank you for gracing this occasion with your presence. It's highly appreciated. Okay, while we're waiting for others to come, I think I'll just start by introducing the speaker that we're gonna take first. And permit me to introduce her. Just 1 second before I do that. I have a couple of people sending text messages to me about the site, so we're getting that done. Okay, without much further ado, I think we're going to start. We're going to start with Onyeka Akpaida. Onyeka is an experienced financial service professional with 10 years plus experience in financial inclusion, consumer-centric digital banking, and public sector engagement. She's the founder and chief impact officer of Rendra Foundation, a fintech social enterprise working actively to advocate for and drive inclusive finance for low income and forcibly displaced women in Nigeria to enable them to create sustainable changes for themselves, families, and communities. Through our work in financial services, Onyeka has brought in over 2,000 women into the formal financial services sector and believes that empowered women birth stronger communities and ultimately stronger nations. Onyeka is a Cherry Blair and Yali RLC alumnus and was featured in the Spark Magazine 2020 Wonder Woman edition in recognition of the women breaking barriers and empowering low-income women, and recognized by Donors for Africa as one of the leading 100 African women in development. Onyeka provides thought leadership to policymakers and stakeholders through several articles and publications which have been featured by the African Report, Business Day, and Guardian Nigeria. She's also volunteers as a mentor, Mentor X Africa, and an editor with Inclusion Times, a leading financial and digital inclusion platform. Onyeka Akpaida, please, you have the floor for your presentation. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you still hear me? Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Can you hear me properly?
You need to adjust your mic. Your voice seems a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm using my Bluetooth earpiece, so let me just take that out.
Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, it's much more better.
Okay. All right then. Hi, Mayowa. Thank you, everyone. And my name. He said everything he has to say about me to introduce me, so I'll just get right into it. It's amazing. We are talking about financial inclusion. It's another Global Financial Inclusion Week. We are not where we're supposed to be in terms of efforts. I mean, I'm bringing it home to us here in Nigeria. We're still a far cry from where we should be. I mean, we had initially set a goal to achieve, I think it was 90% universal access to financial inclusion in Nigeria as of 2020. But, you know, we still have over 20+ million women that are financially excluded. In Nigeria today, you have a 14% gap between the portion of men and women that own bank accounts, you know. So there's still that cultural barrier, social barrier, there's still that inequality when it comes to financial inclusion for Nigeria. And that's what excites me, because there's also an opportunity for a lot of practitioners, you know, to actually focus on that space. Like Mayowa had explained, I am the founder and the Chief Impact Officer of the Rendra Foundation in Nigeria, where we work actively to advocate for and promote inclusive finance for low-income and forcibly displaced women, which most people know as internally displaced women. I get questions when people ask me, oh, internally displaced women, like, why would you want to open accounts for them and all that? You know, it's almost like after the whole hoorah about them being displaced, it was like, to people, in people's minds, they, you know, fell off. Nobody really remembered that they exist, but they exist. 5 years, 6 years plus, they are in camps. They have families, they're having children. They are slowly but surely building micro enterprises within the camp. And it's funny because many of these camps are situated very in places that we refer to as peri-urban centers. So those are places that are close to access, but yet they are cut off from access. So for us at the Rendra Foundation, we're very particular about reaching this set of women. And this week, actually, a couple of days from now, as part of our plans for the Financial Inclusion Week, we're actually launching first of its kind IDP Women Microcredit Scheme that will basically help us to give loans, microcredits to these women. We did the project in phases. So we're starting with a pilot of about 20 women, and then we're opening accounts for them. Accounts have been opened for them. They're going to get credited, and what they're going to be using with those with the microcredits is to scale up their businesses. Many of them started off as farmers, and to diversify their portfolio, they went into some sort of trade. So you have a lot of them that are food vendors. You have a lot of them that are traders, you know, grocery, drinks, all manner of things. You know, if you go to the camp, they live in batches, but trust me, some level of commerce is happening there. And we want to, you know, let them know that we see them and we want to support them in the best way that we can. So in the broader context, talking about, you know, financial inclusion for women, it's no brainer. It's there's so much broad empirical and statistical evidence that says that financial inclusion is one of the key drivers, you know, for economic empowerment of women. And why, you know, a lot of people, when people talk about, oh, why it's so imperative for you to empower women financially, it's because when a woman is empowered, the nation is empowered, basically. You know, it's funny because let me use the IDP women as a case study, right? You have in 2 out of every 3 IDP women that you meet has an average of 4 children. So you have some of them having up to 9 kids, 8 kids, 6 kids. Some they came with when they were displaced, and you know, so as they settled here, you know, some of them have been abandoned by their husbands. Some ran. Some in the midst of the insurgency. Some left abusive relationships, and in the whole quagmire that they're in, you know, no money, trying to put body and soul together. So in these 3 women are actually the sole providers for their families. So you can imagine how with someone that is drowning, save another person from being drowned. So you can see this thing come to play in many situations where women, when a woman is empowered, it's not just her that's empowered. I mean, for these women, the burden of the children being alive, the burden of the children not starving to death is on her. So they have to be empowered. We need to see these people. We need to empower them in every way that we can. You know, there was a time, I think in the heat of the pandemic and the lockdown, there was a post I saw somewhere when the Nigerian government had given a directive for emergency cash transfers to be given to identified vulnerable households. I think it was about 2.6 million, then they scaled it up to 3.6 million naira. You won't believe that not one internally displaced person was given in terms of like the emergency cash, you know. And then there was this backlash about, oh, a lot of people were not, they were siphoning the funds, and then monies were being pocketed. Maybe there were situations where people actually said, you know, in front of them, these people will come with 20,000 naira that was supposed to be remitted to these people, and they will pocket 18,000. They'll keep 18,000 and, you know, do photo ops like they give the money, take some money, like almost 70% of the cash, and give the remaining 30% to the people that it was originally meant for. And then people were like, obviously people like us were for, if the government had done the right things in, you know, initially, if our financial inclusion efforts had been better than this, all you needed to do was to digitize your government to person payments, which Indonesia did. I think in the pandemic they were able to scale up, if I'm correct, over 800,000 additional people, because before the pandemic, I think 2 to 4 years before the pandemic, they had already digitized their government to person payments. It was easy for them to directly, you know, give these interventions to the people that really needed it. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that when you empower these people, if you want to give them, if you want to do emergency cash transfers, social protection programs, all your programs should be digitized. If they're digitized, you know that the money comes to the person directly. No relative is going to, you know, come and siphon the money or claim the money. I mean, there was a time in my career, a couple years ago, we had one program that we did with the National Youth for Employment, and they were supposed to do some sort of trainings for some youth and everything. What we realized that, so people will tell you, oh, I have an account, and they'll give you a phone number, and by the time you get back to the system to check, they were using their relatives' accounts. So, you know, when we talk about what are the challenges in financial inclusion, especially women financial inclusion, people say things like low level of education, than even the cost of financial services. So that's why it's very important for practitioners, especially that serve the demography of the low income people. We need to find a way, especially now in this new decade, we need to find a way more than ever to actually bring financial services to the real underserved. What we have is you have a lot of fintech enterprises that, you know, everybody's basically serving the same demography. So you have people in urban centers still vying for the same customers that the traditional banks have. So why do we exist as fintech if we're still going after the same population that the traditional banks are also trying to capture? They are big, so they may not want to, you know, the cost of having to reach people in low income areas is really expensive in terms of traditional banking. So that's why it was broken down to fintechs. But yet, fintechs are still not doing as best as they can. And that's because the barrier to entry, the cost of financial services, and the technology infrastructure. I was excited to see the Nigerian digital economy. There's a document that the World Bank did on the Nigerian digital economy. And part of the narrative that we are talking about going forward is we need to find some other way to identify people, because we are all stuck with BVN, because the national identification system is not fully effective and not a lot of people have it. So you have fintech enterprises having to rely on the infrastructure of traditional banks. So if we can find a way to include some other form of formally recognized identification, like the national identity management, the NIM, the NIM card, it will be easy for us to, you know, as fintechs, you know, step away from the traditional structure and be able to meet these people, you know, in more affordable forms. So just to wrap it up, for me, I'm pro financial inclusion for women. I want, and I'm asking a lot of other people to also look at this demography of people, because what people don't understand is when you successfully capture women who are slowly building micro enterprises, what happens is that they're going to become loyal customers. As they grow, their loyalty with you will continue. And you know, there's evidence there that women are actually better savers, because they always have some minimum balance that they will always keep in their accounts. And when you check the statistics in terms of loan default, you have less women actually defaulting on loans. So as we go forward, you know, this is 2020 Financial Inclusion Week. Hopefully by this time we're back here next year, we should be in a better place. We hope that, you know, given the plan of the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, you know, they came up with a framework to advance financial inclusion for women. And let me just share that with you for people that are yet to see it. Sorry, hold on. So the framework will basically be exploring 8 strategic objectives. They said, 1, they're going to expand the issuance of the national identity numbers, like I had mentioned earlier, to reach all Nigerian women, among other actions to ensure that there's increased account ownership for women. So by that way, you know, it will be easier for people to open accounts, even though tier 1 accounts exist and you really don't need an ID card. But I guess with this, it will be better, because for such people, it will be easier to give them loans. Then number 2, they intend to raise awareness and incentivize the value chains for cashless transactions. So I guess they'll be rolling out incentives for agency banking. You know, that's another interesting area, because with the SANEF and what they intend to do, I mean, they've been able to reach those people. But what we realize is that, you know, for my information, a couple of banks actually charge, or the super agents basically charge the local agents, the mini agents, they charge them like 15 naira per transaction, and then they end up charging the end users up to 200 naira, up to 100 naira. You know, so it still makes it difficult, because imagine someone that does not have enough money and she's trying to maybe withdraw 2,000 naira, or withdraw 5,000 naira, or withdraw 10,000 naira, and in some places ahead they charge up to 200 naira. It makes them realize that what's the point of having an account. So I would really be interested in seeing all these incentives that hopefully will help drive the cost of these transactions that the agents do on behalf of the low-income people. Number 3, they said they'll be looking at digital and financial literacy education for women. That's very important too, because for us, that's one of the things we do. Before we disburse funds to the women, we make sure they go through financial literacy. So we break it down, you know, using local content. So if we're doing interventions in the north with our interpreters, we make sure that they understand it in the most basic way. And that's another thing that I've noticed with some of us that are practitioners. When we are doing interventions for these people, we need to take into cognizance the reality that they face. So for instance, you're not just going to put an intervention at the time you want. You have to understand that these women they carry the burden, they bear the burden of home care. So they have businesses to run, they have kids to feed, they have a spouse to take care of. So many times you would have to make sure that the timing is convenient when they'll be able to give you the attention. And number two, you don't have to make such intervention or workshops run for hours, because they'll start getting agitated, from my experience, to get back. Another thing again is that you need to break it down in the simplest way possible. So if you have to, you don't necessarily need to use multimedia. If you could use multimedia, maybe you use stories or you use documentaries. One thing I know is that that really works is when you raise champions within the community. It's really great because it's easier for them to listen to their own people or a fellow colleague who they can see that has gotten results from your intervention. So it makes those people who serve as your champions, and it will be easier when you plan your financial literacy interventions around these people. Now, they said they're going to expand delivery channels to serve women customers closer to home. Another thing they're going to do is they're going to be very gender considerate in data collection, which is extremely key, because every other thing rides on this. If they keep giving gender, the aggregated data that they bring is taking out the gender part of it, their policies will be wrong, implementation will be wrong. So once they focus on this gender considerate data, it will be very key in driving the interventions in the implementation of this policy that they want to use to advance financial inclusion for women. Number 6 imperative, they said, is that they're going to have a gender considerate fintech market, which provides products aimed at financial inclusion for women. Excitedly, we are already ahead of this, as we are already doing this for women. You have other great fintech enterprises like Mama Money in Nigeria that's also doing this. So this is also good to see. Hopefully, in doing this gender considerate fintech market, I hope they will also be giving us the support that we need, to get ahead and really reach these women. Number 7, they said they will develop financially sustainable products and delivery systems that respond to low-income women's needs. What we've noticed is that, as of today, let's even talk about insurance. Sorry, can everyone still hear me? So I'll be sure I'm not just rambling alone. Maya, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just about.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right then. Developing financially sustainable products and delivery systems that respond to low-income women's needs. For us, we know that, in financial inclusion, they say you start with access, then you move to usage. It starts with access, but then usage. And then we see that when you offer services that go beyond regular transactions and banking, you would actually have people use those accounts more. For us, we believe that for financial inclusion to be effective, you need to give not a one size fits all. We say there's something we say, do not color it pink and call it financial inclusion, right? For women, you have to understand the realities of these people and give them what they need. For us, that's why very soon, as soon as we're done with this IDP microcredits, we're going to be working on creating a micro insurance product for these women. When I was talking to the IDP women, I just read out there just to sort of sample their opinion. And I was shocked to actually see that they were excited about the prospect of getting insurance. They had spoken to the women leader that she should just break it down for them in a way they will understand. And they're not saying, oh, free. We don't mind paying for it, obviously, as long as the monthly payment is decent and they can pay for it. Because guess what's happening? They are in the camp, they are sick. And then the government had already told them, okay, that's the National Refugee Commission had told them that, okay, if you're ill, you go to a particular hospital. Now, one of my women was very ill. She has a bleeding problem, and she'd been bleeding for months. It was too serious, and then she had to go to the hospital eventually during a couple months ago, and she'd been in the hospital. Now, for every drug that she was supposed to get, they would tell her, they had given her a letter from the commission that, go to this hospital, you guys should treat her for free. There was no drug that they had. So this is a woman that is in the camp. She doesn't have a house. She's living in a bacha in the camp, having to dole out 6,000 naira every other day to buy her drugs, to buy her injections. And then she would, because, she's been there over time and she's more like a liaison for the women. So what she was doing was she was reaching out to people who had come to give, relief to them. And somebody will come and say, okay, take this 20,000, take this, basically living at the benevolence of people. So you have a couple of them that their kids fall ill and then they go to the hospital and they don't get the attention that they deserve. So imagine if, in addition to the government aid in terms of their health insurance or whatever, it's not even insurance, it's just a letter that they give them, right? Imagine if they had like a micro insurance that they could also fall back on that can cover for them and cover for their kids. And those kind of people, you would tell them not to have an account. They will have an account because they can see that it's relevant, it's solving their problem. They can save their monies, they can, have some, modicum of health insurance, and they can get microcredit easily when they need it. For those kind of people, usage will not be a problem. So I'm really excited again to see that, this is part of what the CBN has put as part of their policies. And finally, they said as part of their strategic imperative is that they'll be promoting a culture of women's leadership and staffing in financial institutions and other key agencies. I guess what they want to do with that is to be closing the gender inequality gap in organizations. So, in conclusion, I really believe that, this policy is good on paper, like many other policies that we've had. Our hope is that this time, the implementation will be better and we'll have better results. For me, when I saw the framework and how everything, they had a lot of policy people, I didn't see them have practitioners, people that are actually working with these people that you want to serve when they were coming up with these policies. But I mean, so far so good. There's nothing that they've expressed here that is not going to achieve the right results, as long as the implementation, is right, and they carry all stakeholders along. So hopefully with this, we are going to be working with the CBN the way we work with the CBN. We are going to continue our work in closing the financial exclusion gap, and hopefully by the time we come back here at the Financial Inclusion Week 2021, we'll be singing a different song and we'll have better results. So thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Myra, for having me.
Thank you very much, Onyeka. Thank you. You got some questions rolling in, but
I do.
At the end of the day, you'll be ready for the questions. I'm going to send the questions to you privately.
Okay.
Okay. Just Onyeka, I can't find you again. Are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I need to take you off. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Onyeka. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody joining us. This is Financial Inclusion Week Nigeria. We're joining the Center for Financial Inclusion ASEAN. In the US, we have everybody from different parts of the world right here. Our questions have been coming in. People are still joining us from different parts of the world. I'm glad to announce to you that we have our next speaker right available with us. Permit me to introduce to you Mrs. Bunmi Lawson. I don't have the wisdom and the right words to describe her, because this is somebody that is well experienced in this market, and there's nothing I can say that can actually describe her. But I'll let you know that you can always expect the best from her at every point in time. Thank you for the good job you're doing in the industry, Ma. You can have the floor, Ma. You're well appreciated every time. Good to see you again, looking younger.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor to actually be here to address you on a topic that's very close to my heart. I've been in the area of financial inclusion, I would say, for over 20 years now. First starting up our Faith Foundation to help young graduates set up their business, all the way to Action Microfinance Bank in Nigeria, where I was the CEO for 11 years. And then now to Edfin, the first specialized education finance bank in Nigeria. I'm hoping that as the last speaker said, by 2021, we should have the first specialized women's banking institution in Nigeria. That would be something that would really help to address the topic that we are talking about today. I want to start by talking about a very basic question, and I feel that most people here, when you talk about financial inclusion, believe that they have a good definition. For me, what is financial inclusion? It's important to know. Is it just opening a bank account, that everybody has access to a bank account in the formal sector, or it is a variety of financial services that an individual needs? So it is not only just about the account, it is about having an account, it's about insurance, it's about pension, it's about savings, it's a, the whole gamut of financial services, having access to that. And the survey that EFINA champions, I'm also a director on the board of EFINA, one of the key parties that helps the CBN develop the the women framework that the last speaker was referring to. So there were practitioners that were actually involved in developing that framework. It took over 18 months of survey, research, webinars. There was actually a conference also done by EFINA to actually promote and discuss that framework. So as I was talking about financial inclusion, how do we ensure that women have access to the whole gamut of financial services that they need? Currently, only 58, almost just 59% of women have access to a bank account. But that to me is not even the measure. When we now talk about insurance, only 1% have. When you talk about pension, twice as many men have access to a pension than women. Why are these issues? I feel that when you're addressing issues around female financial inclusion, we need to look at what are the behavioral issues, culture, and the issues that are specific to women that may be causing them not to be able to have access to an account. The very first one I want to highlight is the issue of identification. You will be surprised that a simple thing as change of name from Miss to Mrs. causes you not to have identification anymore. Which identification should the bank use? There are a number of people who come to open an account. Their identification is still in their maiden name. They want the account opened in their marital name. And then you now have to go and be processed for that change of name. Whereas a simple marriage certificate, in my view, should be okay. But now the bank will tell you, you have to go and publish it in the newspaper. It has to be there for 25 days or so. You have to go and swear in court. This is after having a marriage certificate. Even the CBN, even this affects women across, not only just low-income women. So even on our board, we have a woman who's remarried to now go and get her change approved. A long list of documentation asked for. That's one barrier. So even just to get the identification, you will find that there are more women who have access to their the national identity card than there are more men who have access to the national identity card than women, simply because of this name issue. Your certificates, your education, everything is in your maiden name, and you now have to change to your marital name. Those laws need to be simplified. Simple marriage certificates should be okay. And those who do custom marriage or not in the legal court should just simply swear one affidavit, and that should be enough for that change of name. So those are some of the practical measures that I want to put out there. Another point is financial literacy, awareness. Most women are not aware. They're too busy in the day. How are we informing women about products that are for them? This is not enough just to have it in a pink fancy color. That's not about women. How do we showcase that women can benefit from these products that we are marketing? How do we create awareness? How do we improve financial literacy among women? What's the benefit of women saving? As I said, it's most households, women take care of the children and so on and so forth, are spending everything they earn on maintaining their house. Why we should highlight why women should save, why it is of benefit to the family. You find very few products that actually highlight women in an advert. I recall there was one advert that, a very nice advert, was talking about the progress in life from when you are born to children. And if you watch that video, I don't want to mention their name because they've now corrected it. Everything alluded to a man. When they talked about bank manager, they said Mr. Bank Manager, as if it's only a man that is a bank. So there's a lot of unbiased, bias against women, and even in the way products are advertised. So we should focus more on how products benefit women, have targeted ones. In the days of old, UBA, I think it was UBA who had this advert. So they would say wise men bank with UBA. So they now have to change it to wise men and women bank with UBA. So things like that are specific to women to improve financial literacy among women is important. The one passion that I have given my bank is about education, women's access to education. It is shown that the more educated you are, the more you are likely to be able to access financial services, not just a bank account, but also pensions, insurance, savings, and so on, investment, capital, and so on. So women too should be given access to education. The girl child should have access to school, secondary, primary, and whatever they want to do, university or vocational studies. The last point I want to sort of raise also is about the product design. How are we designing our product to ensure women can have access to them? Let us make sure that they address women particularly. For instance, insurance. Are there specific insurance that address women health issues? You have HMOs. Let us have those that are for women specifically. It covers maternity. It covers any other issue that, at particular women, breast cancer, all those things. You will see that the uptake of insurance would be far higher if you have tailored products that focus on women. Then you find that women also save more in informal settings. There's been a survey that, in fact, there was a time they talked about an NGO who provides water in a village. So they started creating pipe-borne water or wells right at their houses. And they found that women were not using those wells, and they still wanted to walk far to the stream. Why? Because of the social mechanisms there. So as we design products, can we add some things that are of interest to women? So have women groups, women in business, women issues, maternity, childcare, also as add-ons onto those products so that women actually will start using them. And pension. Why is it that women don't have pension? Those are specific designs that focus on women. They typically have more disruption in your career progression. So in the days of old, you will say, oh, you only get pension when you've worked for 35 years straight. Women take time off to either look after the children. They are not continuing in the career throughout. Do we have specific issues that address that? How do we encourage them during those times off to ensure that they continue to have pension? So those are some of the things to address maternity, to address specific issues around women, building social interaction with the product. Women tend to be, I can't say all women, tend to be more social in terms of that. So in conclusion, as I said when I started, is that it would be really nice to see a specialized women's bank, a full 100% women's bank. I know a lot of banks have actually focused on having, departments for women, gender-based GEMs and all of those kind of things. But there are key, practical, simple things that I feel that those in the banking industry, fintech industry should put in place to address issues that affect women. The CBN framework is one that is good. It is good for people to take it and now say, okay, how do I implement some of those initiatives in the 8 areas that have been identified? And some of them are actually cross-cutting, both for men and women. So issues like infrastructure, the internet being available, simplification of product design affects everyone. So those are the ideas that I have, and I think are the initiatives that can help drive female financial inclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you for the perspective you brought into this. I think you you've actually asked us so many questions of what needs to be done in the industry. And I think all the practitioners here are, there are quite a couple of questions coming in, but we won't be taking questions right now. We'll go to the next speaker. The next speaker is Mrs. Lola Okanlawon. Are you here, ma? I think I spotted you a while ago. If you will permit me to unmute you.
I'm very much around. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma. I'm yet to. Okay, you're on, ma.
Oh, thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. My sincere apologies that I came late to the session. It was due to technological glitches. I'm going to share my screen. I have some few slides. It's going to take me, if you can. Can you give me access to share my slide, please?
Your screen is up, ma.
Okay. Good afternoon once again, everyone. My topic this afternoon is on financial inclusion, protecting women from risk. I made a few slides so that I'll be able to show us the urgency that we have to be able to get our women into financial inclusion. Okay. I made it into different colors so that we can be able to understand. Can you see the slide?
Yes, ma, you're on, ma.
You can see it. Okay. So the importance of women's access to finance goes beyond financial inclusion. And the global scale of women's financial exclusion makes it imperative for regulators, supervisors to focus on ways to reduce the barriers to women's financial inclusion. You see that the data I'm going to use is taken from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, from the Central Bank, the World Bank online data. It is believed that the population of Nigeria is 200 million. When we look at the light blue one, it shows that the population of the Nigerian women alone is 49.4%, which is 98.8 million. We are assuming, we know that some will say the population had gone beyond that. But let us, for the argument of this presentation, and use 200 million. So what it means with this is that women are not a special set of group. You are either a man or a woman. And any society that does not take the population as large as this will not be able to develop. The next one says that 35.5 million of women are financially excluded from the system. And when you look at the labor force of women, which is the green color, it shows that 53.5 million of women, that is between the age of 15 to 64 are in the labor force. And that is a lot to be played with. 16.9 million, which is 31% of the population, they are unemployed, while 31.6% are not employed. Breaking all this down will let us to know the urgency. Please, you have to forgive me, my hand just, so I'm going to the next, there's one that I've omitted. The screen has stopped.
Oh, you stopped your screen.
I didn't.
Your screen is back on. Your screen is on.
The dependency rate for every 100 productive people in Nigeria, there are 86.6% that are dependent on every 100 people that are working. And what it means with this is that we have a lot of men that are working and have a lot of people that are depending on them, and they are mainly either the uncle, the fathers, the mothers, depending on those ones that are working, because most of the people working are men. Only 27% of women are believed that they have formal banking and insurance. And this is very low. We need to take the women from being excluded into inclusion. I want to use an example of the network that I belong to. We are educated set of, that is a New Women Microfinance Bank. We are into formal banking, but we found out that most of the women there are SMEs that have no insurance. They don't even use banking system that much. So what we've been able to do with them was that they were not able to find themselves into to getting access to finance. And we now have to do a study. We now have to do a study amongst ourselves that what is the reason why these women are not, why some are into the formal banking and are not enjoying all the things they were supposed to enjoy. It was interesting to find out that most of these women, it wasn't as if they are rural women, but they didn't have processes, they didn't have procedures for their businesses, so they were not able to, even though they were included in the financial inclusion, they still do not know how financial inclusion has to be used. SMEs are the engine of the society. They run more than, the women run more than men. The fact that most of them are not into the business that they, the business that they went to school for. It is a situation that had made most of these women to either have some other businesses because of children that is not going to be too far away from home. They cannot they will have to go and take their kids from school. So you find that the SME that is run, the 18% of them is being run by women. And so the financial gap is so wide that women-owned businesses, they face a finance gap of $22 million. And how is that? Men that are in SME businesses can easily go to the bank and get access. But because these women that run their businesses, SMEs, they do not take advantage of all the things that is included, which is some things that the previous speakers had already said, that identification, they don't have. Some of them will change their names, and it is difficult for them to do. So the health, why is this thing covering this thing? The health category, that only 0.2 women in Nigeria pay for healthcare. Is it the fact that we don't know, or we are not allowed to participate in the health issue? But it is more of education that is lacking, enlightenment for women. That's why most of them are not able to enjoy the healthcare, which I would not like to repeat what has been said in the last, with the two speakers. Men as economic leaders, there is a socio-cultural belief that men are the leaders, and there's no doubt about it. But we have to realize one thing, that the women's population is beginning to be on the same level as that of men, and even slightly now it is surpassing it. If we are not careful, we will see that what they have given our men, that the Nigerian men, the average lifespan of Nigerian men is 58 years. And you wonder, because it is less than 10 years less than what is available in developed countries. And we need to know what are the reasons why this is, that men have low lifespan. From the data that I've shared from the beginning, we'll see that the population is putting weight on our men to the point that they are having different kinds of diseases, they die early, and while you have a lot of widows, and most of these widows, most of these women are dependent on the men. And once that happens, they are not enjoying the health care that they're supposed to. If these women are brought into financial inclusion, it's going to benefit them in terms of getting access to credit, getting access to savings, And also, it will assist them to be able to know what their rights are as Nigerians. And then the regulators need to let, as had been said earlier by the last speaker, that they need to get the stakeholders together. They cannot just bring up policies without the stakeholders, even the customers they want to serve, for them to know what exactly is going on with them. I was part of the policy listed in 2012 and with the central bank. And we discussed a lot of things, but by the time the implementation came out, most of the women that we felt would be able to get the 220 million loan was not possible. And then let's now talk about the gender equity. We know that in 2015, there was an agreement at the UN for the SDG, which is the Sustainable Development Goals, and which has been given that the first 5 out of the 17 has to do with people. And we must make sure that everybody is taken out of poverty. We have to make sure that everyone does not go hungry. Gender equality. And before all these things, we have less than 10 years. And the calculation of what I have said in the first is that if all these women are not brought into financial inclusion, they will not be able to enjoy all the things that is available for them in terms of insurance. The calculation for the insurance, it's very shocking that a lot of women, just for the fact that they work, they do not know how to enjoy insurance, because when they're sick, when they give birth, HMOs are not being available to them because of a lack of, they didn't know what they are supposed to do. So in effect, I think this is the last one. In effect, we need to bring a lot of women into the financial inclusion. And especially the one that I am passionate about is the issue of financial literacy. I'll give an example of what we have been able to do in Ibafo. Ibafo is very thickly populated. And the women there, most of them do not have access to finance. They don't have access, they don't have banking accounts. But we were able to allow them to go and take forms and fill it. But we found out that most of the time, once they get the money that they are looking for, they open the account quite all right, but they don't go back. They withdraw the money once and for all, because the complaints they are always saying is that the charges are high. Charges of cards, when you have to pay 1,000 naira to get an ATM card, for them, it is high. So if they can assist to lower the cost of banking for these rural women, it will be okay. And then we will look at a situation where they will know the informal banking sector that these women, what are the things that they are doing that is making them to remain there? With all the incentives that the government has been giving, you come into the financial system, it's not yielding as much results as we feel it should. So my summation is that financial education should be done before we can even think of saying we want to give them loan. The reason is this: someone that cannot value money, there's no way that by the time you give them this money, that they will be able to make a long-lasting effect on it, because they take it, some of them will use it for their homes. They do not calculate what they have put into it and how much they are making. Or when there is need in the house, they will always take it, and then they will take it, use it for their homes. From all these things that I've calculated, I just feel my own is, let us have a review of the financial inclusion policies to be able to favor these people at the bottom of the pyramid. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. It's nice to listen to your presentation, and thank you for giving us another dimension on this occasion. You're still on to Financial Inclusion Week Nigeria, and the topic of discussion today is women in financial inclusion, with a clear focus on Nigeria. We've had 3 speakers already. We're going to the last speaker, and after that, feel free to unmute yourself or kindly raise your questions, and we'll surely be able to actually get you in. The next speaker we have, I'm trying to see if she's already here. Mrs. We have the MD of Hasal Microfinance Bank, Abuja. I'm trying to see if she's here. If you're here, please can you unmute yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. I'm trying to see you.
My name is coming in as NJE.
Okay.
I'm trying to change the name, and I'm not having that icon to change the name. So
just 1 second. You can change it now. Okay, try to change it. You should be able to do that now.
No, I didn't see the rename. I'm looking for the rename, but I didn't see. But I can go ahead.
Please go ahead. I'll change it while you're talking.
Okay, I have a few slides that I had sent, hoping that it will be shared. But otherwise, I'll just talk through it. I've changed the name.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so my name is Njoel Ezeugo. I am in Hasal Microfinance Bank. On the screen, I see.
Joanna, just 1 second, please. 1 second, please.
Yes, I see.
This is Lola Okanlawon. Please close your slide. The slide is still on, so we're trying to get that technical difficulty out of our way. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mrs. Ezeugo, you can come on.
Okay. Thank you so much. I've been given a topic. I don't know, can you see the screen now?
Yeah, you're coming on, you're good.
Okay, so I've been given a screen to talk about bridging the digital divide amongst women. So that's the topic I'm handling. And I'll just look at introduction, implications of gender digital divide, the benefits of bridging gender digital divide, and then we'll make our recommendations. Typically on the screen, we'll see our women in action.
Hello, are you there? Hello, are you there? I think we lost her. Okay, I mean, if we can have her, we wait for her to come back. But while we're waiting for her to come back, I think we'll start taking some questions. We can also do that gradually. I see a lot of people coming in here. It's my great pleasure to find the president or chairman of Action, Mr. Michael Shine. I hope I got the name right. Are you there? If you are there, can you please unmute yourself and say hello to your people in Nigeria? That's the president of Action International. I think I got the name right. I see you coming in just a couple of seconds ago. Okay.
What?
Okay, you're back. Okay.
Okay, sorry everyone, I had a bit of a glitch, but it's fine. What a privilege to be speaking when the president.
I think she's really having a technical issue with the internet over there.
Oh my God.
That's one of the challenges we face, but that's understandable. Okay.
Are you seeing the screen?
We can see your screen. You're actually fading in and out. Okay, maybe we'll try to take some questions while you are. Israel, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am here.
Right.
Are you seeing the questions? We have some questions and comments in Zoom, and we also have some questions on the portal side as well. Just a moment, and I can read some of those for you as necessary.
Okay, if you can get some of the questions for me, that would be great. Israel.
All right.
I think we still have our presenters in the house, Mrs. Okanlawon, Mrs. Lawson, and Onyeka.
So, yeah, Daniel Aluba of Brak, Uganda asks, are there any challenges with women and ownership of collateral? Could gender-specific products that promote financial inclusion for women be looked at? For example, preferential pricing on loans to drive uptake.
Okay, to respond to that question. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone, once again. Yeah, so the issue of collateral ownership has to also do with name, the name what name do we put on there? In fact, I read one of the questions where the participant was also asking that even things as simple as utility, typically in the name of the husband and not the wife. So how do you then present a utility? How do you present a utility bill? It's the same thing with collateral. So most times the property and collateral is typically in the name of the husband culturally. So even at the woman, it may just be Mrs., the name of the husband, whereas identification that the woman has none of her names on that collateral. So that usually leads to a conflict. So yeah, we advocate that more and more we should look at movable as opposed to property like land. So like things like generator, the fridge, and so on and so forth, so that women can actually have them in their own name. Or if they have to combine it with their husband, it should be clear that it's Mr., the name of the husband, and Mrs., the name of the wife on that receipt, so that it becomes easier. I won't be really an advocate of differential pricing without a reason. What I mean is this: in my books, it has been shown that women actually repay their loan, so the risk is lower. So because of that lower risk, I would price those loans at a lower interest rate because I feel that the risk is lower. So, but it should be based on that, not just because, oh, NNEW gets a lower risk. I don't think that women are asking for subsidy. They work equally as hard as men and are able to repay the loans, provided the design of the product is appropriate to their needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. Any other question, Israel? I think I have a question here. What would be the most effective model, that is methodology, to reach more and more women in terms of financial inclusion? Mrs. Lawson, sorry to put you on the spot again.
Okay. Others have to answer back as well. Good to see you, Anna. So, what methodology is best? I feel that it should be a mix. I don't think, for instance, I was advocating that there should be women specialized banks, but that doesn't mean that should be the only way to reach women. It should still be the same. You have commercial banks, but make sure that they are able to understand the gender issues as they design their products and offerings. The same thieves. You can have cooperatives. In fact, you have a lot of cooperatives that actually focus on women, because it addresses that social need that women desire when they're talking about money and investments and so on and so forth. I feel that it should be the current systems that we have. It's just that each one of them should have within their organization a department that understands women issues. So even if it's the marketing team, how do they address female issues? This issue of maternity, the requirement for them to be all these simple things like just this name issue. What can we come up with so that those names and those barriers that typically women have are now addressed in the way we offer our products and financial services? So that's what I would say needs to be done.
Thank you, Ma. This question will go to Onyeka. What are the main barriers women face to adopt digital financial services? What are the main barriers women face to adopt digital financial services? Are you there, Onyeka?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you get the question?
Okay, so yeah, barriers women face to adopting financial services or just digital financial services?
Digital financial services.
Okay, well, number one, cost. is the cost. You know, if you notice, in Nigeria, many fintech or digital financial services are being offered using the USSD because it does not rely on the internet. So that's the easiest way to access them. But still, a couple of them don't even have phones that can, you know, work on the USSD technology. So it's going to be the cost. It's going to be low level of literacy as well. You know, those are poverty. Those are the things, because I mean, if you don't have money to eat, a phone will not be what you would be pressured to get. You know, funny enough, a couple weeks ago when we were doing an intervention program at the IDP camp, out of the 20 women, I think about 5 did not have phones. You know, 2 had maybe their husband's phones or something. So, and so we now talked to them and told them, you know what, you guys have to get a phone. Their phones are 4,000 naira, you know, and they were like, okay, before the end of the year, they will make sure they'll get the phone. So what we did was, for us to be able to register a phone number with them, we just got a fresh SIM. Since they had decided they were going to register the phones, we got a fresh SIM, and then we gave it to the bankers to open the account in that with that SIM card. So what we just did to incentivize them was like, you know what, if the phone is 4,000 naira, we would augment it with 1,000 naira for you, just to encourage them, and they were excited. They were able to get it. You know, so basically, the low poverty level, the high poverty levels, the low level of literacy. And I know that a lot of, I would have said before, you should use targeted interventions. But what I know is that a lot of digital financial service providers actually are sending services or providing services in local content. So you can actually reset your language for it, if it's Hausa, if it's Yoruba, so that way, you know, you'll be able to understand. That is if you can read. So basically, to wrap it up, it will be high poverty rates, it will be low level of literacy. That's about it.
Thank you very much, Onyeka. I think we have Mrs. Onwana ready here. Are you still here, ma?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you can go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, again, and I'm so sorry for the glitch. It happens, as somehow I'm going to be speaking on bridging the digital divide among women, and I'm going to be looking at introduction, the implications, the benefits of bridging that divide, as well as our recommendations. And I was saying that these are the women that we serve. These are actually the people we're interested in. And the question we're asking is, how do we get these women, particularly in this, with the issues that COVID-19 threw up, and the fact that we need to get to as many women as possible to be financially included. With the advent of a lot of digital channels through which we support this women's transaction, how do we get them actually to adopt this issue? We're saying that technology and internet is a great enabler, but somehow we realize that when a baby boy is born, as he's growing up, one of the first things that the baby boy gets is a PlayStation, whereas the sister, the girl child, actually gets dolls and all that to play with. So that's actually where the divide starts from. Right from birth, right from the time these girls start growing up, we notice that this digital divide have started. So we're saying that to achieve a more financial inclusion ecosystem for women, girls and young women, they actually need equal access to technology. That will also raise their interest, as well as digital training, and then safe online activities. We're looking at what is a digital divide. It's been established that about 33% of the adults in mainly the least developed nations do not actually have access to the internet. And thank God that a lot of things has been happening in the financial industry, where as low as USSD that does not need an internet can work. like we said, are stereotypes around technology being for boys and then toys being for girls. We need to stop that. And that's one of the ways to start from day one to actually make our girls that will grow to become women to be digitally interested. We're saying that the digital divide or technology is the difference between the groups with access to technology and the internet and those that are without it. Now, bringing it down to finance, what is the implication? The implication is that while one is discriminated against, the male gender are now more digitally inclined. And I'm hoping that at the end of this presentation, that we'll be able to empower the women to actually get digitally inclined, especially with respect to financial activities. Most of these women are selling on a daily basis in the market. Some of them because they can't go to bank, or if you open the bank account, they will end up sending either their sons or sending their husbands to actually run the account. Our interest in this presentation is to say, how do we get them to use all these fintech activities to be able to actually run their finances without necessarily waiting for the support of the male gender, because we're saying that without equal access to technology, the internet, they are not able to participate in this ever-growing digital society. The implication also is that majority of our customers are women, but at the same time, they are drawing back on the presentations when it comes to, oh, we have mobile app. How many of these traders are using mobile app? Even when you have gone out of your way as a bank to actually get them, it will be easy for them. They don't need to go to bank. They will start asking you questions like, so who will be operating it? And when I give it to my son might go and withdraw the money. At the end of the day, they'll rather go and line up. And in these days of COVID-19, they'll go and sit under the canopy for hours before they are treated in the bank. Whereas adoption of these digital platforms will actually have saved them time, will actually have saved them the time they would have used is waiting under the canopy. They would have used it to do their businesses. So we need to incorporate IT and fintech solutions in everything we are doing, and then work with these women to actually accept the fact that filling that gap that they have, they will save more in their daily activities. So what is the benefit? We say digital literacy. It has become almost as important as traditional literacy. I know that most of these women are trained. They are trained on the jobs they are doing. They are trained in their market, but they need to be trained on how to be digitally literate. That will also reduce their dependence on third parties that might also take advantage of them, because sometimes we've heard stories where third parties took advantage of them because they are helping them to operate their phone, they are helping them to operate their laptops. At the end of the day, they are taking advantage of. So we're saying that when they are digitally literate, they will be able to work without actually depending on anybody. And again, even in that their business, because they are digitally literate, they will be able to allow more women, the reach will be widened. I'll give a test case that we've tested, and it's been a very wonderful experience that we have. I'll do that shortly. So this is our case study. Our case study is Ashake Kitchen. Who was Ashake Kitchen? Ashake Kitchen is just a booker under a canopy. She cooks in her house and brings to stay under the canopy, very close to our head office. And what happens? Bank staff and people around buy from her. And then within this period of COVID-19, people don't want to come and sit down. In fact, it's not even allowed for people to come and sit down. she was now advised that, okay, you cook very well. Your food is easily attractive to people. So why don't you let's just work with you to link your business. Now, when people book food online, then the dispatch riders will go and share and deliver the food. Surprisingly, it was started. And today, this woman has 5 dispatch riders. All that she does on her phone, a mobile app was installed on her phone. Her food portals, you can see the portal were now put. So you can eat inside, you can eat outside, it can be delivered to you. And the business has now gone to, depending on just a few people that are walking around, going to buy food from her, to now delivering online. So as soon as people make their order, she delivers, and the business has, within this COVID period, between and now, the business has skyrocketed simply because she adopted digital means of working. The question is, how can we scale up with this experience? How many of these women are willing, first of all, willing to actually adopt this process? How many of them are even willing to listen? Sometimes they want to speak to their husbands, and maybe because they do not understand fully what is being presented to them, they will not really accept it. But we have seen these few examples. A lot of women are trying to project what they are selling. Even in the market, in the open market, some women have started adopting this means of delivering goods without you necessarily coming to the market to buy. And we believe that with that, the gender divide, the digital divide will be closing up. So what will be our, using Ashake's kitchen as a case study, what will be our recommendation? Number one recommendation is that we should target loan products that are women-owned businesses. We should design our products in such a way that if we want to create the digital, if we want to close that gap, we should generally target more loan products that we know our women are more in number in the, and like my MD, Mrs. Bunmi Lawson said, they do not, they pay when they get a loan. It's an experience that has been seen over and over again. So what we need to do is to generally target more loan products towards these women, more savings products generally that will assist them to be financially included using digital means. I will also say that banks and financial institutions should offer digital literacy. It's very, very important. You tell somebody who opens the account, the bank has ATM card. They will tell you, okay, I'll take the card is at home. The bank, he can actually operate his phone. She has a phone. Just do *9 what? No, because they are afraid of, if I use this means, what if somebody steals my money? So part of the digital literacy will be, how do I ensure that I teach her what to do, not to share her PIN, not to make sure that her alert is with somebody. You know, those little things that will make them to lose that money they are afraid of losing. So digital literacy is extremely, extremely important if we want to close the digital divide. The fact that they have a phone is not enough. We must train them on how to use the phone to be in their financial activities. We must train them to do that. Again, we also have to create products that will require a percentage of them being used for infrastructure. For example, we want them to be digitally savvy. We want them to be digitally, we want them to close the digital gap. Okay, they can use their normal phones for USSD. What of mobile app? They need a smartphone. Can we build products around that that will assist them as we're training them to be digitally literates, can we also train them and then support them? It can be a CSR activity. It can be a buy and subsidize just because the bank wants them. And one of the benefits to the bank is that it even reduces the number of people that visit your branch. At the end of the day, the branch will have more customers because they can actually open an account for their children without necessarily. I was listening to Mrs. Lawson on the challenges of even opening an account. We had a group of women, 100 of them. We had to literally go to the village where they are and be bringing in buses to come and do their BVN. But if they are literally digitally literate, they can actually open those accounts on their phone without necessarily having to travel to the bank to do that. And that would have saved them costs, that would have saved the bank costs. Even the activities would have been reduced. So we need to train. As we train, we also support by those products that will assist them to do that. And of course, you know, it's one thing that we said you can reduce interest rate just as an incentive for those IT-related loans. So they may not necessarily, because an acquisition is not really supporting their business as in buying and selling, but we can also give them like an incentive to actually adopt using digital means. I believe that when we actually work more with these women, when we meet them in their groups, when we meet them in the market, you meet a market woman, madam, I wanted to go to market to bring your money. Why do you need to go to the market? You can just transfer. You've already taken the money to the bank. Why do you need to go to bank again to bring my money back? Why don't you transfer? I know they do that kind of thing. No, that's already a mindset. So that digital literacy will actually help them to change that mindset. And then by the time they know that they can actually sitting down in their marketplaces, they can actually do their banking transaction. They will now know that the only thing that remaining is to get the money to the bank. And even at that, they can still use agents around them to get this money to the bank without necessarily having to spend time living. I'm believing that if we all jointly, because financial inclusion for me, it's everybody's business. If we all join in our little corners, just support these women to actually adopt digital means of carrying out their financial activities. At the end of the day, everyone will be better off, both them in the markets and those of us in the banks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Questions are coming in. I think you did very well. Thank you for the case study you brought in. Mr. Michael Schlein, the president of ASEAN, I see you. Can you just say a word in 1 or 2 minutes to people in Nigeria? They would like to see your face, and you can say hello to them. I don't know if you can hear me. Mike? Okay. Seems is out again. Okay. There's a question for you, and this is coming from Njoel. The question is, what measures are in place to address considering the associated risk related to the digital route? If this isn't clear, it negatively affects all efforts to bridge the digital divide. I think this person is just trying to find out the risk that comes with the digital platforms. What measures are in place? Some of them you actually mentioned. What measures are in place? Mrs. Unwana, if you're still here, pardon my mistake for calling that name wrongly. If you're still there, can you please answer that question?
Okay.
Are you still here?
Okay, so yes, I'll take the question. I'll take the question. What measures are in place?
Yeah.
Yes. So what do you need to do? That's why I talked about financial literacy. That's why I talked about digital literacy. So financial literacy, you have to manage your resources and all that. When you're talking about digital literacy, like the case study I gave, I don't know if I hope you're hearing me. Like
Yes,
the case study, okay, so like the case study I gave, it was not like somebody just went to her and said, Madam, you can go online. You need to, in a group, train the account officers on the utilization of those digital processes. One of the things they will tell you, their first reaction will be, no, I don't want to use all these things they are saying, because if I use them, my money will get lost. So what is the digital literacy? Is to tell them, don't share your PIN. When you're doing your PIN, I don't want to see it. Don't show it to your children. Don't show it to your husband. Don't show it to your neighbor. Because one risk, associated risk, is that somebody can pick their phone. If they go and save their PIN on their phone, it means that somebody can actually use that phone and then take their money. So that is one risk. Another risk is loss of like if they have an ATM, loss of that card, what happens? How will they keep it safe? What are those little things you need to tell them? They will protect you, or need to, tell them the digital process and tell them to protect it the same way they protect their bank accounts. So it's a training. It's not something that you just tell them, now you can do mobile app. How did they even start the process? You need to calmly teach them the process in the simplest of language. That will not be the time. If the women in financial inclusion, those my market women, they will not be the time to be speaking big English. Speak the language they will understand. And in setting up their password and everything, tell them the implication of doing this or doing that, and then watch them. And then when they have a problem, when there's an issue, a compromise somewhere, be fast enough in resolving it. Don't create small bottlenecks that will make them feel, who sent me? Let them see that you're their partner in progress. And once you do that, by the time one person effectively succeeds, he will tell the other person, because they are all together in the market.
Okay, thank you. I just want to let you know that the live streaming will be cut off from Center for ASEAN, Center for Financial Inclusion, but we'll continue with our discussion right here. I know questions are coming in and out, but before we attend the next set of questions, one of the things we actually do when we have Financial Inclusion for Nigeria Week is to recognize people that have contributed immensely to the development of financial inclusion in Nigeria. We try as much as possible to recognize them. We are, unfortunately, it's not a physical event this year, but that does not mean we're not going to recognize people here. Permit me, with all due respect, to recognize Mrs. Ogunleye, Mrs. BC Ogunleye, the of memory now, the founder of COMWAN, that is Country Women Association of Nigeria. They are based in Akure. Princess Ogunleye, are you here? Can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you turn on your video and please tell us about COMWAN?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayowa, for giving us, I thank you for giving us this opportunity, and in remembering my mom for the good work she has done in Nigeria. COMWAN is Country Women Association of Nigeria, working with the rural women since 1982. And this is our 38 years in Nigeria. Chief Mrs. Bisi Ogunleye Mama Kowan is the founder of Kowan, Country Women Association of Nigeria. We have about 2 million members in Nigeria. We work with rural women. We give them empowerment. We train them on how to manage their little income in a way that they can save beyond 5 naira a day. We train them on agriculture. We partner with so many organizations to do this. And for Kowan in Nigeria, we are in all the 36 states in Nigeria now. The headquarters of Kowan is in Akure, but we have other branches in every state. My mom, Chief Mrs. Bisi Ogunleye, was the one that started savings in Nigeria. She called on 100 women group, and she started training them on how to save 1 naira per day, then giving them a loan of 5 naira at the end of every month. And from there, Kowan is the first organization that empower women in Nigeria. And this same Chief Mrs. Bisi Ogunleye, the founder of Kowan, brought Microfinance Bank to Nigeria when we are in partnership with Central Bank of Nigeria. When we are in partnership with Central Bank of Nigeria to promote financial inclusion with the rural women across the nation. And for now, when she passed on in 2014, and I took over starting the good job she left for us. And recently also, we have been impacting in the life of the poorest and the poor in Nigeria. So
Thank you very much. We appreciate what Mama has done. I personally had an encounter with Mama in 1995 or 1996, thereabout. We were going for a microfinance conference in Senegal. And she was on a wheelchair then, and she saw me and it was like, "Oh, you coming from the conference?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, this young boy, what are you going to do in microfinance, financial inclusion?" When no young man was actually looking at it. And she gave me her words of encouragement. I think she's done very well for Nigeria, and may the good work she's done continue, and may lives of women across Nigeria be impacted with what she's done. She's highly appreciated on this day, and we recognize what she has done. And thank you for carrying on the torch. Thank you very much, ma'am.
you're welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Nice to have you too. The second person we're going to honor this day is no other person than Mrs. Bunmi Lawson. I know she's not expecting this, so don't be surprised. I know you're not expecting this, but I can tell you she's been in this industry for over 20 years, if I'm right. And she was the first MD of ASEAN Microfinance Bank, and she held that position for 10 years before she now started a new venture, which is actually new in Nigeria. That is a microfinance bank that is tailored to provide services for education. Mrs. Lawson, I'll give the floor to you. You're recognized today. Thank you for the good service you have done, you are doing, and you will continue to do. Thank you. The floor is up to you, Ma. So tell us about you, your organization, what motivates you, and what your future for this industry is in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. In fact, I really appreciate the honor. It was a surprise, as you said, to hear my name being called. I really thank you very much for what you've done. But before I go into myself and what we do, I also wanted to talk a bit about Mama Koan. In fact, before I even went into microfinance, I was at Faith Foundation then. That was when I first met her. And she was such an inspiration. If you looked at the number of women that were in Koan, it was simply amazing to see what Mama has so continued to rest in peace. I am happy that the organization is continuing to exist and continuing to provide to ensure that her legacy lives on. So thank you very much for that. And then personally, financial inclusion has always been my passion, especially for low-income households, those who don't have access to finance. And really, for me, you know, finance is important because it enables people to take the opportunities that are there. It is not that poor people don't see opportunity, they do, but because they sometimes lack the capital to take advantage of that opportunity, they are not able to do so. So it was when I did my MBA at the Lagos Business School that motivated I studied. I'm a chartered accountant, to actually improve people's lives, to address some of the social ills that we had in society. And Action just gave me that platform through the work that I did there. And Mrs. Njoel Ezeugo was one of our key staff. She was head of commercial at that past Action in the industry and continuing in that mission of driving financial inclusion. So the impact of Action is not only just Action, the bank, but in all the people that we trained, all the people that also passed through that organization and are continuing to do that work of financial inclusion. When people have access to financial services, capital, insurance, pension, their lives become better. The lives of their children also become better. You know, generations to come benefit from it. So education, which is why I'm also, is that you then eradicate poverty from your life totally, you know. So because education is one that once you have access to it, it can never be taken away. You have money, somebody can steal it, you can spend it. But with education, even if you share your knowledge, what you are doing is multiplying that investment. I also felt that access to education is equally as important as access to finance. So the two go hand in hand, and that's the work that I'm currently doing through Edfin Microfinance Bank. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the award, and I also want to dedicate it to all those who started before me in financial inclusion, microfinance, and work to make sure that this dream, we actually realize it in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. It's a pleasure having you here. One thing I would like to say is I communicated with her, sent in messages, but she did not get to have any information until about 24, 48 hours ago, but she still made it a point of duty to be here. How dedicated, how committed can someone be? Thank you very much, Ma. The last but not the least is no other person than someone that's been involved in women empowerment for quite a number of years now. She has other things she does for herself, but she has taken it upon herself to see that the plight of women in the society is alleviated. Permit me to introduce to you Mrs. Lola Okanlawon for this special honor and recognition. Mrs. Okanlawon, are you still here? Hello?
Can you hear me? I'm very much here.
Okay, can we have a word from you?
I guess I'm speechless. Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be amongst each and every one of us this evening, and I thank you for honoring me. It's a joy when I see women being empowered, and I hope that in the 10 years that the SDG, by the 2030, women would have moved far, far forward than we ever imagined, so that no one is left behind. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for what you do in NECA. Can you tell us a little bit about NECA for those who don't know about NECA?
Oh, okay. NECA is the network, NECA's network of entrepreneurial women. That is the group of women. NECA itself is an association of Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. That is NECA. They now have a section that is called NEW, which is the NECA's network of entrepreneurial women. We've been running the network now for about 15 years. I was one of the founding members of NEW, and about 5 years ago, we decided to establish a microfinance bank with the money that the members have collected. And we thank God now that at least we've gone through the rough waters. We're stable with the bank, and we know that it's only for us to now move forward and forge ahead.
Thank you very much, Ma. And thank you for the good job.
Thank you.
Is Onyeka still here? Onyeka, are you?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Can you please tell us a little bit about the IDP women and what you do for them?
Okay. Hi everyone again. Thank you for staying this long. Okay. Well, for the IDP women, what we basically do for them is we promote inclusive finance for the women. We conduct financial literacy trainings, obviously that's localized and brought down to the level at which they understand. And then we also give them microcredits. So how we do that, we use the pair lending structure, and then they are guaranteed by their coordinators, the coordinators in the camp. So they only give us names of women that they are sure have stable businesses. So these women have been doing these businesses for as long as they've been in the camp. So minimum number of years, they've been at it for like 4 years, right? So they make sure that they guarantee the women that they give to us so that we can ensure that funds will be returned. So for us, the reason why we are actually pushing for them is because it came to our notice that actually I'd always thought that the lands in which some of the camp seats are owned by the government, but apparently I think they were leased or something from private individuals. So I know of 2 camps now in the FCT that the people will be evicted within a year. So you have one that they had told them that they give them up until January, but there's a smaller land not too far from them that a faith-based organization had purchased on their behalf. But it's not going to contain everybody in the camp. So you have that problem. And then in another camp, I think they're giving them up to a year. So for us, we're focused on that, and it's an urgent call for us because, you know, when we promote inclusive finance for these women, we are working towards inclusion, empowerment, and reintegration back to society. Because, you know, they need to, it's almost as if, you know, that kind of feeling when it's like you're living outside the box, it's like they are not settled yet. So I'm sure with more economic power coming their way, they'll be able to get some sense of belonging, and then, you know, they can start their lives afresh away from their initial homes. So yeah, that's what we're doing with them.
Thank you very much. Dr. Aliyu Dairu Mohammed, can you please unmute yourself on your video and you say something to people as we try to round up?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ajay Modi, for the opportunity. I didn't plan to talk, but this is very timely program, just like my brother Saleh Paru has stated. It comes when the Financial Inclusion Steering Committee released a framework for advancing women's financial inclusion in the country. And of course, many have been said regarding the women and the need for financial inclusion of women. It's time to carry our women along, especially given the record they have established when it comes to payment of loans and the trustworthy. With our women, they just don't, I believe, they just are trustworthy. So, and then again, you see that they are the in the bottom line when it comes to financial inclusion. Many studies have established what I have said in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, in other countries. But one point I want to also emphasize is that if you look at the northern part, many women actually, they also want to participate in this, but because of the non-availability of non-interest financial mechanisms, so some of them shy away from the current system. So it's good for those institutions, microfinance, to offer products that are non-interest, in fact, not only in the north, across the country, so that it will be all inclusive. So this is my suggestion, and congratulations for the very good program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thank you very much.
All right,
on the last note, Mr. Olusegun George, the MD or CEO of Jamboro, what are the challenges fintech have in creating the needed products and services for women? Do you want to shed some light in 1 minute on this? Mr. Olusegun George, can you please unmute yourself and open up your video if you can?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. Thank you. And it's been very enlightening. I'm not sure. I'm trying to actually get my video to work. Oops. Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. It's been very enlightening listening to the session thus far. And congratulations to our recognized peers on the platform. Congratulations and continue doing your great work. In terms of where we are, in terms of using the fintech platforms, I actually happen to be running one of those so-called platforms, which I've done across the continent, not just in Nigeria and Ghana, but all the way in Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, etc., etc. One of the problems we actually faced and what we looked at was, in terms of addressing this problem, was actually having the financial literacy, as we've mentioned in previous sessions today. That financial literacy is key, and the digital literacy is even more important in that respect. So what we're looking at is providing programs where people get that comfort level. I'm sorry if I keep using East Africa as an example. However, they've been a case study for when it comes to digital financial services in terms of where they've gone with mobile money and M-Pesa. So mobile money and M-Pesa, whether you're illiterate in the market, whether you're selling groundnuts on the street in Kenya, people are comfortable using that. And one of the things we need to press and promote a lot more in our region, in Nigeria especially, is the adoption rate of women and technology. I've heard some of the presentations before, and it was like, it was also mentioned that boys actually have earlier access to technology than their female peers. And that is one of the key issues. And the women in the market have trust issues when it comes to using financial services. So for instance, a bank will go into those rural areas or the marketplaces and say to those women, come and open accounts. Then they present them with forms of paperwork. These forms actually are quite intimidating when they look at the level of detail that they have to provide just to get basic savings accounts. The other thing is the promotion of other financial products, such as ATM cards that we also mentioned earlier on. These ATM cards, some of these women have never been to an ATM before, never used a POS machine before, and their sole dependency on cash is a huge risk that we need to eliminate. So in terms of mitigating that risk and the concerns they have, they're all valid concerns, but without the awareness programs and the promotion of these financial products, we're going to continue to have these problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's very on spot. Without much delay, we've been here for close to 2 hours. I just at this time want to recognize everybody that actually came in today to attend. Most importantly, I want to recognize the speakers, Mrs. Bunmi Lawson, Mrs. Lola Okanlawon, Esther, she's still there, and Onyeka Akpaida. Thank you very much. I want to recognize Mrs. Bosede Odusoya, my wonderful cousin that has been with me on this journey for almost 3 decades now. Thank you for all your support. You are indeed appreciated. Your love from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. I can see Femi and Shola here. Thank you for being part of this. And thank you, my friends. Thank you for everybody. Financial inclusion, the game is still on. We're still in it. You're invited tomorrow to the Ghana Nigeria FinTech Summit. It's going to be an awesome one. Everybody, it's a summit you don't want to miss. So go to fintechlink.org and you can actually register. Fintechlink.org. Google Ghana Nigeria FinTech Summit 2020. We look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you. It's nice having you. If you have any questions, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. If there's anything you want to say, please kindly say it. This video is going to be given to the Center for Financial Inclusion, ASEAN International, and it's going to be on their website. It's going to be transmitted to everybody around the world. Also, the Financial Inclusion Television International, they are taking over this video from us. Thank you, everyone. It's nice having you. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything. Estadiola Balogun, I can see you there. Thank you very much. Mrs. Unwana, Njoel, Ezeugo, I'm so sorry for that. It's not an oversight. I'm so sorry. I can see you. You're still here. Thank you for coming. Despite the technical glitch, you were still on point. You still delivered as much as you can, and you just got it right. You nailed it on the end. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate you and looking forward to seeing you again next year. Please make it a point of duty to be here again next year because we're all going to be here, whether COVID likes it or not. And please stay safe out there. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See some messages coming in. Yeah, definitely we need to. Thank you very much. Please kindly put your emails down, put your phone numbers down if you've not done that before. Yes, we need to sensitize the people. Education, literacy, we cannot play this less. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Onyeka. Mr. Shegun George, thank you. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow again. I need to call you later today.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Shegun, please, I would like to ask you a question. I don't know if it's okay to ask here so that I don't hold everyone. Okay, so I know like East Africa has always been like a success case study for mobile service adoption. It's always, I mean, we're always being compared to Kenya, and it's really great the work they're doing there. Could you like, since you're already doing something in that space, Could you like share what you have narrowed down as the success factors? Why has the adoption, why has it been so exponential there, and what can we do here to have the same result? Is it just a case of the sensitization that happens, or is it a case of the policies? Like, just if you could just share that, I would really want to know that.
Sure. Thanks. Great question, and it's something we've actually deliberated on for such a long time in that space. When it comes to adoption of technology, first of all, we have to look from the top down. Then we also need to look at it from a different perspective of the user rate from the bottom up. So the two have to marry at some point, and to get that kind of synergy, we need the adoption rate to actually be pushed right from the top when it comes to regulation or the regulators what we have. Then from the bottom, the acceptance of that technology and the adoption of it at the same time. So that comes with awareness, that comes with education, and it comes with the willingness to adopt new technology. I'll take Nigeria, for instance. I was in the banking sector in Nigeria for a few years as well before, when I moved back. And what we realized back then is when we tried to adopt mobile money, the stumbling block on the plate, the major stumbling block was the fact that the telcos were not granted licenses. In Kenya, Safaricom were granted a license. There was pushback from the banking community. However, they invited everybody to participate in the fear that they were going to create some kind of monopoly. Today in Kenya, for instance, Safaricom, their total daily transaction rate is more than that of all the banks, local banks combined. That's how much trust people have in that system. So how do you build that kind of trust? How do you get people to accept that, okay, this is the way forward? And they opened it up to other telcos and said, you know what, you're welcome to come and compete. Competition is healthy. So there's Airtel money, there's MTN money, there's Tigo Pesa, there's all sorts of different competitors. However, first mover advantage and the adoption rate and what they did is people do not even talk about mobile money anymore. They just mention M-Pesa.
Yeah.
They don't talk about payments anymore. They just say M-Pesa. I was stuck in Kenya for the last 6 months due to lockdown and what have you. I conduct business there regularly, but I'm usually in and out. But this time I was there for 6 months. So I got to see how the system actually worked from a first-hand perspective. I did not handle cash once in my entire time there. There was no need to physically handle a note. Everybody had M-Pesa. And there are all other electronic payment mediums as well. So those are the things we have to look at. What channels do we provide? What kind of means of adoption and awareness do we provide? How is the government pushing this? I know we're pushing for cashless, a cashless society in Lagos some time back. How successful was that? It wasn't very successful because people do not like, or they still don't trust electronic payment services. People do not trust it. So there's a trust issue as well. So we need to address that also. And that also comes with awareness and education at the same time.
So do you think that, okay, sorry, go on.
Sorry, just one more point. The other thing is collaboration. So when we look at collaboration in Nigeria, for instance, my platform deeply relies on the collaboration of other financial service providers. What I do is I bring you to a forefront, I bring you to one platform where you can access all of these other financial services. So you're not having to go to a bank. I bring a banking service to you. You're not having to talk to an insurance company because I provide insurance company products and offerings at a micro and nano insurance level. I'm aggregated with mobile money technology. We have APIs that connect to all these technologies, connect to core banking systems, connect to your accounting system. So when we look at most of the traditional banking, I mean, we'll talk about unbanked and underbanked all the time. 65% of the population in Africa is unbanked or underbanked. And that's across Africa. That's just like a median. Some are better than others in some countries, etc., etc. When we look at this number, what do we look at? We're looking at people that have no bank accounts, first of all, people that do not have a digital footprint in any way. That digital footprint is essential for you to access other financial services, whether you're going there to borrow money or you're going to save money or you want to do a pension scheme or health insurance or whatever financial service you want to access. If you're trying to access those financial services without any kind of system, when I say digital footprint, we're talking about you not existing in any credit reference bureau. So these people that don't have bank accounts, they open a savings account or a bank account in a microfinance bank or what have you. By the time they do that and they apply for a loan somewhere, they run a search and they see this search and they'll be like, nothing comes back. And it's because you don't have any digital footprint. You've never been on a formal database before that's accessible and verifiable. So those are the things we need to take into cognizance also. How do we lower the KYC standards that the banks or the traditional banks actually recommend or request for? And one of the other things we want to do, we want to create one of the biggest repositories of data when it comes to digital footprint for the non-banked and underbanked population of Africa.
Okay, so I'm very curious about the last point. What are you doing to get those repositories? Are you going to be working with community-based groups, or because what I notice is a lot of us that are working with this demography of people, a lot of us are working in silos, right? So how do you intend to tap into that and get those data from those people? Because some of them are doing transactions, they may not have digital, but they're doing transactions maybe based
and
on.
That's correct. So I've actually looked at this from all different angles. So when we started, I actually started in Ogun State in Nigeria. There's a group in Ogun State called the Alajapa Group. So basically it's a whole group of artisans, market women, market associations, trade associations. Then they're broken down into subsectors, subgroups. So you have mechanics in one point, you have vulcanizers in one point, you have tomato sellers, yam sellers, etc. All grouped into different, and they're very well organized. And when I say organized, they do have hierarchies, they have rules, they have regulations. However, they don't have automation, so they can't scale. They have traditional lenders, they have microfinance banks that are lending to these demographics. But when I look at the interest rates, they're extortionate almost. So they're not sustainable rates. And yes, but with those kind of rates, all you're doing is begging for default. So it's not possible. Then the other thing is we've actually had NGOs that have been willing to give these guys money. However, they won't give them money because there's no accountability involved in their lending process. So what have we done? We've digitized all their lending processes, put some structures in place, put some risk management in place. And now we can actually go to NGOs and say, you know what, you can give us money on this platform. It's going to be managed by this bank solely for the purpose of these groups that we've identified. And here's the real-time reporting, and here's the real-time transparency and transaction audit trail of everything that goes through that platform. And that's what we provide. We provide that transparency, the trust, and the automation that comes with it that gives you that comfort. And the accessibility via mobile channels. So like somebody was saying earlier today, you don't need to have a smartphone. All you need is a feature phone and have access to USSD, and you can actually access those services.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your insights. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Is anybody adding anything? If nobody's adding anything, I think we can call it a day. Thank you, Mrs. Njoel Ezeugo, for staying to this end. Thank you, Mr. Victor Adeoluwa, Olayinka Idowu, Kelto Yinka Yeni. Thank you, everybody. Dr. Aliyu, thank you. Mrs. Bosse De Odusoya, thank you very much for standing by me. Onyeka, thank you. It's been worthwhile having you. Yeah, she's one of the strong pushers for this program. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think we've had a good time. We've just done about 2 hours, and that's actually the time we planned. Thank you for staying by. Until next year, thank you. God bless you. On this same platform, we'll see you next year. Please stay safe out there. COVID-19 is real. Thank you, Jamil Abdullah, Bashir Morgan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye. Don't forget fintechlink.org, Ghana, Nigeria FinTech Summit, 14th and 15th of October. It's going to be great. See you there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Get ready if you want to learn more. I'm ending this meeting right now. Thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful session today at the Financial Inclusion Nigeria Week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. A special appreciation goes to Center for Financial Inclusion, ASEAN, in the United States. Thank you for creating a platform. Thank you for everybody that has joined us all over the world. It's nice having everybody. We wish every other organization having their deliberation tomorrow, and in the course of the week, we wish them a wonderful deliberation. It's nice to see people from across Nigeria and across the world coming to celebrate Financial Week for us here in Nigeria. There's a lot we have shared today. There's a lot we have learned, and we plan to take it further. Thank you for everybody that has been part of this program. Thank you. Thank you. We can't thank you enough. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Abiel. Thank you for setting up the platform. It's nice working with everybody. I still remain your humble servant, Ajetumobi Olumayewa, a director at Financial Inclusion Nigeria, a director at Financial Inclusion Africa, and a director at Financial Inclusion Television International, a director at Financial Inclusion Advocacy Center. Thank you. I wish you all the best, and see you again next year, year 2021. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye. God bless you all.